Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Grassi, and I have a very fun show planned for tonight. Sorry, I'm just doing a little adjusting. My camera looks a little blurry from when it was just on, but that's not a big deal. So, welcome. I am. I did not pull my books that I normally keep next to me here, which I just dropped stuff. Give me 1 second here. I got to do my normal routine. Bold Venture Presses, the two Zorro books I got to work on. Zorro's Exploits, where I illustrated two stories in, and Zorro Swordplay and Romance, where I illustrated one, and I had got some friends in both books. Awesome stuff. Now, I will. You can get these, by the way, on Amazon or go to boldventurepress.com. Now, my buddy Francisco, who did this cover here of the 90s Zorro, also published this book in Portuguese. And I got to do a title illustration in this book. And I could get the information. I still don't have how you can order it, but I think you can go on Amazon if you read Portuguese or know someone who has or does. You can check that out. Also, from Bold Venture Press, Pulp Adventures number 42. I did a fun story in this. I got to illustrate the American Crusader, a public domain character that was a lot of fun to draw, written by my good friend Don Everett Smith Jr. And of course, saving the best for last, the Whimsical Wiz. You can check this out on Amazon. It is the complete 2023 collection. The complete 2024 collection is on its way. I am working on that as we, not as we speak, because I'm not drawing right now, but it is in production behind the scenes. All right. Anyway, let's get to tonight's guest. She's a returning guest. She's a fantastic artist. I love looking at her work. I have said this countless times about her. I love when she posts her pencils. I love the energy in them. I'm so excited once again to bring on Emily Ree. And hello.
Hi. Nice to be here.
Yes, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Let's check out the chat. Looks like we got a couple. Dylan is on tonight. Hi, Dylan. And Cloudy Days, which I
Hey,
just
Cloudy.
Did I hide it? Do I know her? Him? Her? I don't know. Sorry.
My friend.
Thank you guys for tuning in. So, Emily, for those who don't know who you are, can you just give us a little background on you?
Of course. So my name is Emily Ree. I'm a cartoonist. I'm an illustrator, and I'm a fashion designer. I'm from New York. And I make a lot of stuff. I'm always busy. I have made a bunch of web comics over the past 10 years or so. I'm most well known for Anarchy Dreamers, which has been on hiatus for a while, but it started about 10 years ago, which is crazy to say. But I have been working with the characters in that universe for longer than that. I just started self-publishing my very first serious webcomic, which is called Koji Takashi Stops the World. I did that in college over a decade ago. I've done stuff kind of all over the place. Urban fantasy, action adventure, romance, manga versus very colorful work. But my most recent project is something called Advent Calendar, which is somewhere between a web comic, like a normal web comic, and also a newspaper strip, because it's always 4 panels, which has been a really fun challenge to work on.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of work, and you've been doing this for a very long time. That's something, as someone who, listen, I've been doing comics since the 90s, since 97 is when I first started, but I've been in and out due to lots of different reasons. You've just kept going, and you have a lot of stuff. And as someone who loves comic strips, I love what I've been seeing with Advent Calendar on Instagram. I love one of the things I did specifically with my Wiz comic, which, by the way, you guys, I haven't announced it on here, I don't think. I changed the name of my Instagram page. That was at the Wiz Comics, now MGS underscore cartoons, which stands for Michael Gracia Studios, and I'm going to be posting a lot of different artwork on there, a lot of new comic experiments and things I'm working on. So if you
Yes.
don't follow me on there, or you have and you've seen the name change, please don't stop following me there. But you can go on to MGS underscore cartoons on Instagram. Sorry for that little pitch right there. But no, but the reason I was doing this because when I was doing I was saying this because when I did the Wiz comic, I had either 3 or 4 panel strips. The whole thing was a newspaper style strip, and it runs in a Kids in a Comic newspaper. Which, by the way, I forgot to mention. Go to kidsinacomic.com. The season 3 will be starting in August, and the Wiz will be continuing in season 3. Um, that was one of the like when I started the Wiz. Now I started the Wiz actually in 2018, I believe, and I stopped it in 2019 because I actually got really sick. I was doing a lot of conventions. I ended up with pneumonia, and I had a busy schedule between day job and all this other stuff. Something had to be put on hold, and I had to choose the comic. But it was really, can I do a comic on the iPad? I just got my iPad. It was, how do I do this? I experimented with Procreate. There was another comic, it was Comic Something. I tried, and eventually I realized I'm a Clip Studio Paint guy, and that's
You know what
that's
you like.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, that's what I work in, both on my desktop and on my iPad. But my goal was to produce a weekly comic strip, and when I brought it back in 2023 and did 2023 into 2024 or whatever, I was constantly doing it. But the reason I chose Instagram as my place to post was because the swipe feature. You can have up to 10 images, and I'm like, this is perfect to read newspaper style comics.
Oh yeah.
And so when I see your posts, I just love that because it's like, here's a quick little read, and
That is the vibe.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
so I was okay, so I used to make all of my comics in this kind of like manga-esque style. Not even speaking like the art itself, but like the paneling and all that. I
Yeah.
love just the motion of it all, and I still really love working that way. But during the pandemic, I started posting things more on Instagram, and it got a lot of traction, more than I'd ever gotten on any other social media platform. And I was trying to figure out how to best optimize the viewing experience for people who were only ever going to read it online. And when I started Advent Calendar, I didn't really think I was going to like print it. I thought maybe if people like it, but it started as an actual Advent calendar where I was initially going to post 1 page a day from December 1st to December 24th. And then I was like, what about 2 pages? I bet I can hit 8 panels. And then it exploded, and now we're at page 86, and it's a year and a half later. Wow. But, anyway, I saw other artists use this like really well. I was inspired specifically to use squares by the artist Simon Hanselman. I apologize, I can't see his book on my shelf over there. Okay. Totally different work from what I do, the Meg, Mog, and Owl series. It's quite adult. It's kind of gross if that's not your thing. But during the pandemic, he posted a page every single day, and it ended as little squares, and the book that he created ended up becoming a New York Times bestseller. And I was like, amazing. Like, I already liked his work, but I'm like, what a fantastic, smart way to deliver your traditional comic to an online audience through Instagram. So it was really fun. But also, like, my earliest my love of comics comes from newspaper strips, like Peanuts, Garfield specifically. I just bought a book full of Get Fuzzy comics that I found at a thrift shop. I was like, oh my, I couldn't believe it. And want to know what the crazy part is? I was flipping through it, and I was like, did all of a sudden in the middle of this book, there's a lot of strips of the firemen, and I'm like, what happened? I'm like, oh, it's the 9/11 comics. Whoops. Oh. it's the 2001, 2002 comic book, but wonderful piece. But anyway, I'm rambling a little bit.
No,
I
it's
love
okay.
Newspaper comics, and that's it's kind of like going back to my roots in a way, and I have found a lot of freedom in these little squares.
Yeah, no, it's funny because that's my where I, fell in love with comics was the
Hmm.
newspapers, and speaking of Get Fuzzy, that was one of my wife's favorite strips for
It's
years. She
really
doesn't
good.
really read as much anymore, but we got a few books somewhere around here autographed by by the artist.
That is
I
so
met him.
cool.
I think he was at New York Comic Con many years ago, and like at whatever the King Features booth or Creators,
Hmm.
whatever the syndicate was at the time, and I'm like, I got to get a few books for her, so I made sure to pick that up.
Talking about Get Fuzzy, so when I was younger, I didn't get a lot of the jokes,
Hmm.
but my best friend loved this comic so much, and she's really smart, so I just kind of assumed that like she's smarter than me, so she gets it more because we were children reading this. But then I read it as an adult, and I'm like, for as many jokes in here that are like a little highbrow and a little artistic, there's a lot of that just like cat mean, dog nice, and you're like,
Yeah,
it's so fun. I love it. But also the art in that comic is fantastic.
absolutely.
He's changing like the angles in every panel, and like there's details, and I'm like, I'm not I was sad to see that apparently he hasn't made new comics in like 10 years, but I was like, honestly, the amount of detail he was bringing for like 12 years to this strip, I'm not surprised he like knocked it back to Sundays for a while, and now it's
Yeah.
just, I hope he makes money off of it for many years is what I
I
will say.
I hope so. A lot of them still do. Garfield brings back so many memories.
Yes.
Yeah, Garfield. I told a fun story. By the way, I just interviewed a couple of weeks ago D Parsons. He goes by Super D. Does the Rosebud comic strip? If you
Yes,
know
I
that
saw
one.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We talked a lot about Garfield. Garfield's like his biggest influence, and yeah, I'm a big Garfield fan myself. I didn't used to be for a long time. I was as a kid. I kind of grew out of them, and then I'm like, you want to, and this is the honest truth in my opinion. If you want to learn to tell a humor comic, you read Garfield. That's it. Like Garfield is the perfect intro, setup, punchline. It's just,
No, I agree.
it's all there. It's all there with Garfield. And I will say though, there are other strips I find funnier, but Garfield's just like the perfect book to read if you want to learn how to write comic strips.
I agree. I love Garfield. I loved it as a kid. I have an older cousin who had like all of the collected anthologies of Garfield and also Calvin and Hobbes. And when I was very young, I was a little too young to really read Calvin and Hobbes and get it, but Garfield like knocked it out of the park every time.
Yeah, no, Calvin and Hobbes, that was my strip. I even have a print of the final strip right above me. I look at it
Oh,
every day, uh, and it makes me want to create art. It's just, I don't know if you know that final strip, what it says, but it's a big snowy day, and they're like, basically, what are we going to do? And they say, let's go exploring, and it's just them sliding down a hill on white, and I'm like, that kind of makes me feel like a piece of paper, and that's how I approach art. Is I like to explore the empty paper, and when I finished the Wiz, I actually parodied or paid tribute, if you will, to that strip where they kind of
that's so
enter a
good.
portal. And like, what are we going to do? Let's go exploring, and they go into a portal. So
I
it's
love
open
that.
for more stories, though. So if I
No,
want
that's
to talk,
great.
but yeah, no. So that's Calvin Hobbes was amazing. I even remember reading that final strip when it came out in the newspaper. Like that's that's how much it affected me.
I remember reading the last Peanut strip, and
Yeah,
granted, that one's heartbreaking. That one's
yeah,
absolutely heartbreaking.
yeah.
But I just was revisiting like the last month of Peanut strips, like not on purpose. Like something came across a feed somewhere, and I was like, "Oh God, my heart!" Over and over again. And I was like, "I remember reading these and running in my grandparents' living room and running to my parents, and being like, he's gonna stop making the comic." I was so sad,
Yeah.
but. Um, what I would love to visit the Charles Schulz. I think it's the museum. It's
The
it's out
music.
on
Uh,
California, I think.
yeah, San Francisco, I believe. I actually, you can order stuff from them, and
Really?
yeah, and I got there. You can't see it now because it's too dark. I could, that area of my studio is, black right now, but I have two prints I bought. They're like 4x6
Hmm.
of his studio, like his
Oh, that's
drawing
cool.
table, and I keep it next to my drawing table. I also what did I get? I also bought a like just to have a pen. I got and some. I think they threw in some pins, or my wife may
Oh,
have got me pins. I don't remember. Um, and I decided I had to buy it, even though I don't really need it because I'll never learn it. But it was how to draw Peanuts characters, because it's a kid's book, like how to
I bet.
draw.
Ooh.
Yeah. But oh, you froze for a second.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what that was, but
Um,
we're good now. We're good now. But yes.
it's yeah, it's okay. Um, but yeah, no, it's how to and I'll never learn his style. I know for a fact. Everyone says they're the easiest character. No, they are not the easiest characters to draw. They are like the hardest comic characters. And any artist who could do it, I like just you guys are masters.
So I had a really fun commission at the tail end of last year.
Mm.
I don't know if you know Pat Shand from Space Between Comics. He's based out of
Yeah,
Long Island. Yeah,
yeah,
he's awesome.
yeah.
Um, the book just came out, but he has a book called I Summon Cthulhu to Fund My Kickstarter. It's hilarious. I love it. Anybody who's ever crowdfunded or supported a campaign, I really recommend it. But for the collected edition, he commissioned me to do a comic, to illustrate a comic called Snoop Hard. It's Die Hard meets Peanuts.
Oh wow.
It was so fun. It was such a fun project. And it was to mix, Die Hard with the Peanuts characters was really fun. But the last panel was intended to be drawn as close to the Schultz style as I could get it without it being like copyright infringement. And the
Mm.
first time I drew it, they were like, "We love this so much, we think it's a little too close, and we're gonna get in trouble." And I was like, "I'm so glad that I could draw Snoopy so well. I'm so happy." And then I made him look a little dopier, and it
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
perfect. But
Wow, I'm gonna have to check that out. That
it's
sounds
so
really cool.
fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a. I think did I see him selling that at a show?
Yeah, he did the individual. It's like a 3-issue series. He was selling the individual copies at like all the shows for the past year and a half. But then the collected edition was on Kickstarter like May to June. So, you
That's how
know,
I know.
recent.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's he does such great work. But I think because I work in the world of Kickstarters, crowdfunding, I think that one is particularly funny, even before he asked me to draw something for it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No. I don't remember if I've seen him at shows or if I remember just the Kickstarter going up. But yeah. No. I haven't spoken to him in a while. I've been wanting to get him on the show. Um, very
He's
good
always
guy.
fun to talk to.
Yeah. Very good guy. Um, but yeah, anyway, been talking a lot about strips here. I wanted to ask you because
Mm-hmm.
I know you've been posting. I just haven't had the schedule to really pay attention to Instagram in the last couple of weeks. It's really just go on, post, and get off for me. Really, um, I want to start like relaxing and But once you get on, you kind of just you don't leave, and
You're
that goes
stuck.
for any social media. I feel. Um, you're doing is every strip you're doing with advent calendar 4 panels long?
Yes.
Okay.
With rare exception, they're all 4 panels.
Mhm.
I have one strip where it's technically one big panel. And then I have another one where I broke 2 of the panels to get like a full body shot of a character in costume. But otherwise, it's just been 4 panels over and
Panels.
over again.
Okay.
My original intention when I thought, oh, maybe I will print this, was to make it a square comic. Unfortunately, I have far bypassed the page count for my printer to cut the book into a square without it becoming like a much more expensive
Very nice.
project.
Yeah.
So now I've just been finagling ways to kind of fit it in the middle of the page and not look awkward. It looks fine so far. I got some suggestions about like adding a title to each 4 panel like page, and I was like, oh, it doesn't. It's a narrative. It doesn't work the same. But actually, getting a hold of that Get Fuzzy book made me feel better about how I was planning on fitting 4 panels on a page, because I love this book. It was clearly made like at the beginning of digital art, and like I'm gonna assume someone who didn't have a lot of experience with formatting made it. they do some weird stuff to fit to fit a couple of 4-panel comics on a
Yeah.
couple of pages. So I feel better about whatever I end up doing.
I'll just put up mine here real quick just to show you what I did, because I did
Mm-hmm.
a 6x9 book. I wanted to do more of a traditional. The length, what is it, like they do like a 4x9 or something.
Yeah.
And what I did was, when I had 3 panels, I just
Oh,
angled them
cute.
down on both sides of the page. But when I had 4, let me find a 4-page one. Like here, what I would do is I would just break them up and turn them into a box in the middle of the page.
Oh, that
So,
is I actually, this is what I bring to cons with me,
okay.
with the comic in it, and you'll see it's
Oh, exactly.
it's not too bad, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that works out fine.
I thought about making an attempt at doing like the 4 coma thing that they do in Japan, and I was like, I don't think that I can sell this to Western readers consistently looking like this. It's going to confuse people. But it looks cute. I like working with squares. Like, even when I went to college for fine art, and all of my paintings were squares. I just like square canvases.
Okay.
They're really nice. I don't know what it is, but I was so excited about the prospect of actually having a square book, and then I was like, oh, I can't now. I have found some other printers who will do it, but considering the current with trying to get things printed in other countries, I don't want to throw a fork in my project by having a tariff that's 3 times the price of my comic. So we're going with my usual printer, who is based in Florida, and it's gonna look beautiful. So I'm not too upset about it.
No, I get it. I mean, you gotta really think about all those things these days, even before you. I mean, obviously, before you plan out a Kickstarter, you need to know exactly how much and
yeah,
for what reason. I haven't done a Kickstarter. I think my anxiety would kill me. I can get really, because I'd be checking every like 10 minutes. Why isn't somebody backing me? Why isn't somebody backing me? You know?
No, well, what they do is they send a little notification to your phone every time somebody backs you.
Yeah.
But then your phone updates and Kickstarter app doesn't update. So you go, oh my God.
Oh.
No one's backed in 4 hours. I'm dying. And then you're like, actually, no, it was fine. Yeah. That happened during my last one.
That's oh God, that would kill me. Yeah. Let me just see what comments we got. Oh, I love the creative. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, the 3-panel pages look really nice.
Thank you. So, but yeah, it's, like I said, I haven't done a Kickstarter. I've been thinking about one, but it's a good at least year to year and a half away. So I'm gonna reach out to a few friends of mine who have run them, and maybe
I'm here if you need any advice.
Like I said, I'll reach out to a few friends of mine and see. But yeah, it does bother me. The idea in my head of running a Kickstarter bothers me. So I got to get through that, or maybe have someone else run it for me. So
it's not, especially if you start with a project that really just needs a small goal, it's not that bad. My very first project was for a floppy comic, and it was like 36 pages, full color. I think my goal was $700. I made like $1,400 in the end, and I was ecstatic. And just something that's small and manageable, that's good for the size of the project, but also like for you and your soul until you're ready. So
no, I mean, I know before I went on, I told you that I'm doing a new comic, and that's really what it's going to be for. I'm projecting when I want to do a collection of it.
Very nice.
So that's the plan. But yeah, let's focus on Advent calendar. I always want to call it Advent Guard, but it's Advent calendar. That's why I always pause between it. How did you come up with the idea for it? And just kind of give us the gist of the story for those who haven't read it.
Of course. So Advent calendar is a like a festive holiday story that is I'm always stuck on if I should describe it with themes or like what happens. So I'm gonna go with the like what happens version. My main character one day realizes that her family is kind of poor. At least she thinks that they are, and starts to spiral a little bit. This all happens because her mother presents her and her siblings with an advent calendar, which is a puzzle. They all ask for chocolate because advent calendars usually have like little doors with chocolate, and it goes unanswered, and it's just like, no, you're gonna do this, and it's clearly a homemade thing, and they're like, we're poor, aren't we? So, but then as she's spiraling the next day at school, there is a school-wide kindness challenge announced. And the kindness challenge, it turns out, has huge cash prizes that the PTA has donated. It's a Catholic school in New York City, so there's people who are there on scholarship, like the main character and her family. Her mom works at the school, so that's a whole other thing. And there's people who have a lot of money. So, the true New York experience. And basically, she gets this idea to win the kindness challenge by fixing these costumes for the cheerleaders. She's a cheerleader. They have to wear these stupid angel costumes. They're disgusting looking. I made them look really gross on purpose. And they need to be fixed to be worn for a pageant, basically, where they're going to announce who won this contest. So she starts fixing them up, and people start asking, hey, can you do this to my outfit? Can you make it look better? I'll give you some money to work on it. And she's just like, oh my God, it's amazing. So she works on it like crazy for like 2 weeks, and she thinks everybody is happy, and it's so exciting. And then she finds out that all of her friends have a separate group chat where they have just been shit talking her for days about her and her work. And that is when something changes in the story. And there is a supernatural element that is introduced right about there. And some really wild stuff starts happening. And basically the main character has to face down some literal demons, a possessive holiday spirit, if you will, and also kind of come to terms with what goes on in her own family and like where they stand. So, there's a lot going on for something that started as like just like 24 pages, 4 panels. I'm not super used to pitching it yet, which I think is very obvious from the rambling that I did. I wrote a really good description on Kickstarter after like 3 weeks of trying, and I really should have just had that open in the corner of my screen. But it's a festive comic about socioeconomic differences and holiday stress and getting possessed by an actual holiday spirit. So
Okay, sounds it sounds a lot of fun. I've read some of it. I have to go back to read it from the beginning. I've never read it from the beginning, and I wanted to, but this is what I wanted to ask, because
yes.
I'm very curious about how the idea came to be. When I create stuff, my whole thing is like nostalgia. It's retro. Every time I create a story, it's influenced by something from the past that I loved as a kid. All right.
Yeah.
How, and sometimes I'll throw other aspects in there, but like you're describing this whole socioeconomics and like how are you coming up with all your ideas? Because I mean, it's a little different than saying, hey, I like giant robots and I'm going to do a story about a giant robot.
Oh no. So no, I got you. So the core, I think I've been trying to figure out how to define myself as an artist and define my work as an artist, because I am very much what you see is what you get. I'm upfront about everything. I like that about myself. The consequence is I have not curated myself in the way a fine artist should curate themselves, or someone selling a product should. So I'm trying to work on it. So anyway, with all that in mind, the initial idea from Advent Calendar is very silly. August 2023, late August, I got the mail at my parents' house, and my mom gets this magazine for a calendar. It's like a catalog for calendars. She gets the same calendar every year. It's super cute. We have like a frame for it. Lang calendars. That's what it is. And I'm flipping through it because my mom's like, oh, pick out a calendar for your office for next year. And I find they have Advent calendars in the back, and I'm like, I love Advent calendars. Fun fact, I have a dairy allergy, so I can't just eat like normal chocolate. So they're like this wonderful sparkly thing that I can't participate in, which I think adds to me wanting to create things with that, but I digress. They had a bunch of advent calendars in the back that were puzzles instead of chocolate. And I was like, I would be so pissed if somebody was like, here's an advent calendar. Like if I was 6 years old and it's a puzzle, I'd be like, where's chocolate? And I just thought that was funny and it stuck in my head. And then it kind of built into something larger. That night, I actually drew this silly little comic, and I think I just put the sketchbook away. I draw so much, but I just drew this comic, and it was basically this family that I draw a lot of comics about, the O'Malleys, and it was their mom being like, I got you guys an advent calendar, and the kids are like, oh yeah? And she's like, it's a puzzle. And they're like, ew. And she's like, you're gonna like it. And they're like, no, we won't. And then the joke is actually they did. They enjoyed doing the puzzle every night. But anyway, so that was where the initial idea from. Okay. The larger story, the kindness challenge, and the drama that ensues comes from a real thing that happened to me as a child. So buckle up, everyone. When I was in elementary school, December 1st of some year, they announced a kindness challenge to my whole grade. And they were like, we have a grand prize. We're not going to tell you what it is, but you have to be good to each other. And there'll be one kid from each class who wins a grand prize. All right, cool. A day later, we get a new student in our class, and she is a little bit older than us. She's been held back. As an adult, I now realize that she was, developmentally delayed. There was something. My elementary school was very close to a very well-known school for kids on the spectrum, so we would often get kids who were like waiting for a space at that school. Anyway, I didn't think much of it. I thought she was nice. She needed a little help with her homework, and I am annoying, so I was like, oh, I'll help. I love helping people. So I helped this girl with her homework, and like I stayed in at recess a couple of times and helped her with stuff. I'm just having a great time. It turns out the other kids in my class were bullying her a lot, like beyond what I was aware of. And there was like a larger like conversation happening with certain kids where they were like planning to gang up on her or something. So anyway, right before Christmas, she brought a knife to school and had a hit list, and she was going to stab all of the kids in the class except for me. I was the only person who was not on the hit list, and that's how I won the kindness contest.
My God, wow.
The grand prize was a pack of Harry Potter playing cards. Wow. Amazing grand prize. But so that has stuck in my head forever, especially because the way this was announced to the children, we were all aware of the fact that like this girl brought a knife to school. She was like gone after that. It was a whole thing. I have heard that she's fine now. Like she's gotten help she's needed, all that good stuff. However, the kids, I had forgotten about the contest, I'll be honest with you, and I was just kind of bummed that she was gone because I thought she was nice, and I felt bad about the knife thing. But as we're packing up to leave on the last day of school before Christmas break, some kid goes, hey, who won the contest? And my teacher just like slams her hand on the desk and she goes, Emily R won it because she's the only person who wasn't on so-and-so's hit list. And she like throws the pack of cards at me as we're going out the door. And it was something. It was quite a day. And that experience has always stayed with me, especially because everyone just stared at me holding these cards. And I was like, all right, then. Yeah. I don't think I ever played with them. But there you go.
Yeah, no, when I was in school, we just beat the hell out of each other. And what I was, that's a reality stranger than fiction. I wanted to go up here.
It truly is. It truly is. It's I do know class.
Wow.
So, and I will say, I was never like a big victim of bullying. I got picked on a little bit in 9th grade by some boys who were older than me, and then I hit one of them, and then it stopped. And I'm not saying you should hit other people, but sometimes it helps. But I have seen a lot of stuff go down. I was a camp counselor for years, and I saw
Mhm.
a lot of the like mean girl start a conversation with each other and turn all the other girls against another girl thing, and I would try to intervene, all that good stuff. So Cloudy's right. I do have some experience in those really like ugh, child childhood trauma
Yeah,
stories.
I've worked in the school system and at camps as well, and I gotta say, little girls are some of the meanest people on the planet. There's every year, it doesn't matter what grade you're in, up until probably like fifth, maybe sixth grade. There's always a group of girls that like have a friend, and then they say, let's just not talk to her anymore, and they're writing notes about them, and I'm like,
Yep.
what the hell is wrong with you people? And they're gonna, you know, just make this girl feel like crap. And I'm
Yep.
like, how, like, what is that? Like, that always boggled my mind. When guys don't like each other, we tell you, get away from us, or we're gonna beat the crap out of you. Like, that's how it
Yeah.
was when I was in elementary school. You know?
Yeah, no, it's little girls. I mean, girls are it's different.
Yeah,
I recall being told for some reason in high school that when the boys get into a fight in the cafeteria, the staff was instructed to like break it up. When the
yeah,
girls get into a fight, you just kind of let them go at each other because they don't. If you grab them, they'll bite you. And
yeah.
like I said, I my high school was pretty chill that way. I witnessed one really bad fight with some boys, but again, like the vice principal got involved and he got like one in a headlock and one by the collar, and it just ended it.
Yeah.
Um, but there was thankfully, well, it didn't happen to me, but I witnessed some pretty awful bullying with some girls in my grade where they just the popular girls like cannibalized their entire friend group in 8th grade, and it was like that was one of those girls never came back to school after that. Like that was she literally was homeschooled until she dropped out, and it was like crazy. um but yeah, schools, kids are a lot.
Yeah.
We
I'm glad
weren't
I don't do that
I
anymore.
when I was in school, we had cell phones, but you were still getting charged like per text. So we weren't doing the bullying wasn't happening on phones. It was happening on like MySpace, and I purposefully never got a MySpace account because there was a girl in my class who used to like seek them out to go after people. Real concerning behavior sometimes, but I don't want to get into that.
Yeah,
But
no, no, no.
um with this comic, the bullying happens in like a group text, and I have younger friends who have experienced that one in real life. And I was
Yeah.
presenting this comic in the binder format that I have at a show in June, and there was this older couple, baby boomers, who were like flipping through the book, and they were like, I wouldn't even think to like portray bullying through a text message conversation. Like, that's so smart of you to be like with the times. And I was like, oh, cool, thank you. I didn't think of it that way. But that's just as an aside. When you make comics nowadays, you have to be like super aware of the technology that you're drawing, because if you make it like too specific, you have now made the comic like obsolete a year after you've made it. I try to keep it like at the dawn of the current technology that we have, so it's kind of always kind of set somewhere in the 2010s, because if you just draw like a rectangle, it looks like a phone. But if you draw flip phones, it's like, this is clearly a dated piece.
Yeah.
Except I did just draw the dad of the family with a flip phone, but I think he's just one of those guys who has a flip phone in current age.
Well, they're bringing them back too. So
They are. I have a friend whose father is a math professor, and he's incredibly smart, and they had to force a smartphone on him because their cell phone plan simply would not let him have his like Nokia flip phone anymore. So I'm kind of channeling that energy.
I had one of those. Let's see, what
I
do we got in comments? But go ahead, continue. I
no
just want
no
to.
I there's some great comments here. Also, I want to thank everybody who came out to say hi. I see all of you guys.
Dreaded flip phones. Yeah, it's. I don't know. I kind of miss them sometimes.
Me too.
And I also heard, I don't know how true it is, but I heard like Blackberries are making a comeback.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Easier
What
to
was it?
text with.
They kind of, yeah. What was it? My favorite phone. I love my iPhone. I love my iPhone. I say loudly to my iPhone and my Mac so that they're nice to me.
Yeah.
I love them very much. But my first real phone was an LG NV2, which is one of the like flip up or push up phones.
Yeah.
And oh my God. I don't know what happened to mine, but my mom found hers. We had the same phone. Like my mom found hers somewhere about a year ago, and she asked me if I wanted it for nostalgia purposes. And I do have it in the drawer of my desk. Like it's kind of great. I love those things. Because yeah, those are super easy to text on, and they make just like the most satisfying noise when you shut them. Like,
Yeah, I know the phones. I never had one of those. I went from my Nokia flip to, I think I had one of the LG's flips. It was a little silver one, like the smaller ones.
yeah,
And then I went to something else, and then I had a BlackBerry, and I left my BlackBerry for my iPhone because, like you, my
yeah.
iPhone and my Mac, you're my favorite. I love you so much. Don't screw up on me, although you
Keep
never.
working. You're so
Yeah,
good.
yeah, my Mac, I'd like to get a new one, but you know,
I like my Mac. I got it. I think it's a 2022. I think it's yeah. I think it's a 2022. It's nice. It's purple. It gives me
yeah.
no problems.
Well, no, the only reason I want to get a new MacBook is because I have the M1 chip. I want to
Oh
upgrade to the, because I can also add more monitors once. Right now I can only have two monitors hooked up to that. I can add
yeah,
three or more, I believe, with, what are they up to, the M3 I think now or something.
yeah. That upgrade came out right before I got this one. I think, and I
Mhm.
was like, I'm not. I have a Wacom, like that's my second monitor,
Yeah,
my Cintiq, but
that's what I'm talking to you on right
yeah,
now.
yeah. Oh, cool, very cool. So I think they're really cool. I was on the fence about like upgrading when I got it, but I was like, I'm not like a three screen person at this point in my life. So I think I'm all
Well,
right.
I will tell you, this is how I have mine set up. My Cintiq's right in front of me. Right now, it's kind of standing up. I have the ergonomic stand behind it.
Oh,
Um,
same.
yeah, so I have it kind of standing up almost straight with the camera on top, which is
Hmm.
why it does look like I'm looking down so I can see you and talk to you, but it doesn't look as bad as normal. And then on my MacBook Pro, which is right to the left of me, I have my email, I have all the important information on there. And then my
Smart.
separate monitor is where I watch movies and YouTube.
Smart. Very smart. Very
Oh,
smart.
that's my and I got that monitor hooked up to a what do you call it? Well, a speaker, but whatever, a special kind of speaker I have, and so I get good sound out of that one for whatever I'm watching. Uh,
Very nice. No,
so
that's
that's,
legit.
yeah. But if I have more monitors,
You can watch more things. You can stream
yeah,
music and
yeah.
YouTube at the same time, and you can
Like,
stream yourself enjoying those things.
well, actually, I think it would. To be honest, I think it would help my streaming if I had more monitors set up. But uh, I do have more monitors. Like I used to bring monitors to shows,
Oh,
so
cool.
like my setup when I can get electricity at shows is I either bring my laptop or I bring a webcam, and it's hooked up to a monitor, and it's right up, and I draw, and that brings people to my table.
Oh, that's so
So
cool. Yeah,
I do that a lot if I can get electricity.
I've seen people do that before, and I think that's amazing. I can't draw in front of people seriously like that.
Oh,
I go crazy.
I taught for years. I'm used to just drawing. So
It's an excellent skill to have. I mean, I can draw at a show, but like on paper. There's something about like there's too many people in this room and I can't keep an eye on where they all are.
I
And that
get you.
bugs me. I don't know. I same with like whenever I okay. Starting a project, I need to have like peace, whether it's even like with the advent calendar, the first 20 pages are all totally on paper. And then after I felt comfortable with it, I switched to like a mix of pencil sketches and drawing right on the Cintiq. Um, but I have to have peace and draw on paper to make good work. Otherwise, I'm kind of just like aimlessly doodling and
I
not
get you.
creating anything very good.
I get you. My thing before I start a project is I need my studio completely clean. I need it to,
Oh, smart.
and then I'm gonna mess it up completely because when I draw, and I draw on paper too before I go digital. Most of my work is somehow uh, traditional.
Mm-hmm.
At least the ideas, the sketches, and everything. Um, but I just toss that all around. I toss it right on the floor. You know, I'm taught not to keep all my paper, so it's like even though I'm like I want to keep everything, even a little mark I make, it's I got to go through it at the end of the week and see what goes and what stays. So there's usually piles of paper either next to my drawing table or next to my computer table. I literally have stuff a pile underneath my nightstand in my bedroom.
Oh,
It's because I'll draw in bed. I don't care. I
yeah.
draw on the couch. It's right next to me on the couch. I take it. I drop it in whatever room I go into, and
So are you drawing on like loose sheets of paper or is it sketchbooks?
the loose sheets of paper.
Very nice.
When I was a kid, I don't know who told me, but they were like, I didn't know sketchbooks. Like they said sketchbooks were like for good work. And I'm like, no, I learned that later on going to school. It's not, it's just, but I was conditioned. And also my dad, like, I think it was one of my teachers or something. My dad just gave me a bunch of paper and put it on a clipboard and said, here, now you can draw. So I was kind of
Oh,
conditioned to draw on a clipboard and
I like
as my
that.
hard surface. So I don't have it here. Actually, I have one. This is an old one, but I use these clipboards here for 8.5,
Nice.
and I just throw. It opens up, and sometimes I keep supplies in here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Whatever, or I'll throw paper when I'm done drawing in there. But I literally have clipboards of all sizes around me. I have one that's an 11 by 17 in the other room in my living room. It's blue,
Oh,
and I keep
nice,
it next to my
nice.
couch. So, and then I got this, which I tend to draw on quite often. I throw whatever 11 by 14, 11 by 17. I draw a lot on 8.5 by 14 paper,
Do you have a
and
big
because I draw
scanner?
large. I have my scanners right behind me. It goes up to 11 by 17.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it's an all-in-one machine. It prints onto cardstock as well. So
Nice.
yeah, actually not bad. It's $250. Um,
Not bad at
and
all.
yeah, it's the ink that's can get you.
Yeah.
But
That my dad had one of those at work and that was what it
yeah,
was. It was very affordable, not the ink though.
yeah, yeah.
See,
I just paid like something like $80 for two black cartridges or something like that,
I'm
or
so
no,
sorry.
or my three, cyan, magenta,
Yeah.
and yellow or something. It
But
was
then
like,
it gets mad if you don't have the black one, like the specific
yeah,
black one. It's like, oh, we won't print anymore, sorry. And that
I don't.
one's as expensive as the three combined.
Yeah, I use it more as a scanner. My wife uses it more as a printer. So the black goes faster than the other
Makes
colors.
sense.
But yeah, I do print. I did a lot of test prints. I just did a show a few weeks ago in was Undiscovered Realm Con in White Plains, New York.
Oh, I heard
So
about that.
yeah, it was a good show, and I did a bunch of test prints before on different types of paper to see, hey, what do I
Hmm.
want to get my stuff printed on? And obviously I was going with a cardstock, but it was nice that I can run cardstock through here and see how the ink absorbs into it. And
That is nice.
but because I can also print 11 by 17, I just will set up panels and things on in Clip Studio or whatever, print them up, and now I'll just draw traditional, so they're all kind of inked out already for me or something.
No, that is nice. That is
Yeah.
nice. I I love drawing on paper. I always draw on paper. My sketchbook of choice for many years was this one that they used to sell at CVS. It's got like a hand holding a pencil on the cover. I've
Mm-hmm.
got under my bed there is a big box of sketchbooks from late elementary school to when I was out of college, and half of it is these awful sketchbooks that had really good quality paper, but otherwise terrible, and they were like $3.95 at CVS. But I like to work big, except that I never had a scanner that was very big, so I started like transitioning my work to be smaller. I mostly work in a moleskin these
Okay.
days, and this is like your classic. I don't know, it's like 5 by 8.5 or 8.5 by 5 sketchbook. And it's funny because I was thinking about it recently, and I actually have a really hard time starting illustrations in this book because it's so small. I can do the sketches, but if I'm gonna do anything serious, I have to like move it into Photoshop, and I have to draw it in like 10 little tiny sketch zones. And also, like, comics are utter insanity in this thing. This is the second most recent advent calendar page. This is what it looks like. And you know, it's a mess. I drew this on the train in like 45 minutes, but I knew that like I would, and that's the page after it. But I knew I would be transitioning it into Photoshop, and it would look really nice. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm the whole team, so like I'm not super worried. But I recently got this really big moleskin,
Nice.
and it's funny. I've conditioned myself to draw so small for so long. It took a while to like get the feel of using my whole shoulder again. Because even my Cintiq is a baby. It's like the 16.5 inch one. It's like it's a tiny baby. I don't think they make them this small anymore.
Yeah.
I was in a residency at SVA, and my Intuos died in the middle of the residency, and I went, what do I do? I need a tablet. And I was like, Amazon had Cintiqs. I don't know if they still do, but they were on sale like for that month, and it was like $750. And I was like, I literally have to. It's that, or I don't know. So anyway, she has served me very well. She's on an ergonomic arm now, so I don't hurt myself. I hurt my shoulder a little bit, leaning on the desk with the old setup. Sorry, I'm getting away from myself.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, because I understand exactly. Like when I bought my Cintiq, I got it in 2016 or 2017.
Nice.
I bought the 27-inch. Was it the QHD Touch or whatever it was called? And I bought the ergonomic stand to go along with it. And the reason I did that was because I was like, I can get something cheaper and smaller, but I'm used to drawing very large. And at the time I was also animating. So I want to have the be able to draw, like I have my pen and I am with my movement and, you know, the flexibility. And it's great when I draw digitally now still, but you know, but everything starts traditionally, and I kind of like now when I use like 8.5 by 11, I don't have room for the legs or the feet sometimes, and it's like, oh, okay, that's why a lot of papers get thrown out these days.
No, I get you. I like trying to transition to draw bigger again was crazy, because those CVS sketchbooks were like 8.5 by 11, which is not significantly bigger, but it was just enough where like I felt more comfortable. And even so, like these are sketches I did in the big one. They're not proportional to how I draw in the smaller one. They're longer. When the characters look too long, they should be more squat, you know?
Yeah.
And I can just go into Photoshop and do Control T and like smush them down, and we're all good to go, which is the wonders of digital artwork. But yeah, it's crazy how much that affects you, just the size of the page. Like you can be a completely competent illustrator at one size, and then just be like, my hand's broken in other sizes.
And that's why I moved to 8.5 by 14 quite a bit. It's
Smart.
because of that. But it's funny when I draw like cartoon animals, like if I'm doing like a Looney Tunes style or Hanna-Barbera, my characters are great on 8.5 by 11 because I understand that. But when I start doing, you know, superhero style or manga or whatever, and now my characters, when I start, basically it's if I have to draw a human, I suck. an 8.5 by 11. But drawing anything else I could do. If I was fighting muscle memory is painful, even if it's better for you. Yeah.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true.
So, and that's the thing. And right now, the comic that I've been developing is in a manga style. So, so here's the thing. And I'll just tell the others because I kind of announced it on the show already. But I mentioned all my work is kind of like about nostalgia.
Mhm.
And, I grew up, I was born in 76, so late 70s, early 80s cartoons. In America, we had an anime here called Tranzor Z, but it's really Mazinger Z, if you guys know that one.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And I loved all those giant mech cartoons as a kid. You can go to Voltron, whatever it
Mhm.
is. And I developed this story, which I'm working on, which, just to give the idea, is basically what if the Swiss Family Robinson lived on Voltron? And that's kind of,
I like that.
thank you. And
That's a good
so
idea.
what I do, well, I hope it is.
Is-
Let's hope the audience likes it.
I'm not a big mecha person, but that
Yeah.
sounds genuinely interesting to me. I like the
Thank
I like the I'm a fan. Like, that sounds really fun. I'm looking forward to reading it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I hope to have something done before October, like ready to start showing pages and stuff.
Nice.
And one of the things I do, because my work is very nostalgia-like, is I want to get the feel. I don't try to copy the style, but I try to bring some of that classic style into my work.
Mhm.
So and I never know if I'm saying the names right, because I suck at Japanese names or just names in general. But the Go Nagai style.
Yeah.
That's kind of, so I've been studying his work, and I've been looking at a lot of the different Mazingers that they've had. I've been on YouTube rewatching stuff, downloading
Yep.
his actual artwork, like pages from his old mangas, and like tracing them just to understand his work. So I've been doing artist studies of this stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
And then I have my own, and most of my humans kind of came from not his stuff, but the 70s, 80s
Yeah.
anime that I grew up on, or just animated cartoons, because that's what taught me how to draw. So, like, right
I
now,
got you.
project that I'm doing, so like I'm really like embracing those YouTube things I'm watching. I'm watching a lot of old shows, whatever I can find translated into English if possible. Voltus 5, all those fun stuff.
There is so much good stuff on YouTube, like old OVAs.
Yes.
I periodically go down rabbit holes with just weird old OVAs. I can recommend some YouTubers who have gone through them. So, like, it's not so good for your studies, but if you want like a quick, like, do I want to spend 45 minutes times 3 or however many times they made it watching this thing, but I watch a channel where as someone who like has enjoyed a Gundam series here and there. I'm not like a huge mecha person, but I do follow a channel where a guy just reviews mecha shows really in depth. I don't know why I do this, but he's really good. And I will look up his name and
send me that,
because
I've
learned some stuff over there.
Yeah.
But no, like, that is so fun. And that's so cool that you're drawing on, like, you're like the real like OG gen like American anime fan. Like, that's super cool. I like that.
Thank you. I mean, there was stuff that came before me. Don't forget, there was, Astro Boy in the 60s.
My dad grew up watching Astro Boy, so and that he was a kid in the 60s. So, but yes, I mean, like, I know, like, but like, there is something about like mecha that is just so very like Japanese in a way. Like, you really like Astro Boy, you can be like, we have renamed you can, for kids, certain, if you know what I mean, a certain anime from certain genres, and you can make them seem very like universal. But there is something with mecha that is very like to the Japanese culture. And like I said, most of my experience is with Gundam, and that's all just like very like anti-war. And it's the same thing with Godzilla. Like, you look what happened to Japan during World War II, post World War II, you understand where this is coming from. We as Americans were like, hell yeah, big dinosaurs, big robot, boom, war, yay. But anyway, I'm not the smartest person. I'm not really great at talking about these things, but it's something I'm aware of. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that is super cool that you're leaning into that. Like you've got like roots in that, and that's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean it's I'm always drawing, like I was always drawing robots and monsters as a kid and stuff, and you eventually go into like superheroes, I think.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, it's I love that I'm going back to my roots on things. What's that say? Men come for the big rope and stay for the emotion. But
Hell yeah.
Godzilla, what's that minus? So, oh, I still haven't seen that. I got to check that out. But you were gonna say?
Oh, just talking about like where your like earliest artistic. It's funny you bring that up. Like your earliest artistic inspirations come from, and how it can come back to you like in adulthood. Like you have to like kind of lock in. So you and I, before the show was, before we started the show, we were talking a little bit, and I mentioned Steven Silver, who is the renowned character designer for Kim Possible, Danny Phantom.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I was a Nickelodeon kid. The specific Butch Hartman, but specifically like the Danny Phantom art style was like my first, like, ooh, I want to draw like that. And about a year and a half later, I got my first manga, and then I was like, actually, I want to draw like that. But when you look, I've told people about like the Danny Phantom influence, and they look at Advent Calendar and they go, oh yeah, I can see that. But the other, then it all comes back around because there's an anime called Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt, which came out like 2010. The season 2 came out yesterday. But anyway, it's a really cool show for a lot of reasons, but I think it's the best marriage of Japanese and American aesthetics that I've ever seen. And I saw that and I was like, actually, that's how I want to draw. Okay. And it's really cool. So it's just funny these things come around. Anarchy Dreamers was, especially in its first issues, very rooted in this style of like Western aesthetic and Eastern aesthetic smushed together into this thing. And I love how that comic looks. Like when I reread it, I'm like, oh my God, I was cooking with these colors. Like sometimes stuff is weird and I would do it differently, but also a lot of it looks delicious. Like I'm like, I love this so much. And then, but with Advent Calendar, because it was intended to be daily updates, and clearly I started it like 2 months before because I'm an adult with a job outside of doing comics. I had to develop a style that I could draw really quickly. And I have all of those development sketches. I think I posted some of them on Instagram pretty recently, but that will all go into the bonus content of the book. But it's funny because I started being like, okay, how do I draw simple? And I was like, chibis, like from anime, I'll start with that. And I started with that. And if you look at the early pages, I'm like, that's the proportions I'm going for. But now it's just kind of morphed into like 4.5 heads tall, cartoony looking guys that are clearly influenced by anime, but also Western aesthetics, also Butch Hartman. And I don't know. It's funny that that's you were talking about your inspirations from childhood, and that's really what I've drawn from for the aesthetics of this comic in my own stuff. So.
No, and that's I think fantastic. I mean, when I mean, you were obviously a kid when I was in school, like studying college stuff, because the Butch Hartman stuff, when that came out, I was, ending school, being whatever. But I was never into the Nick stuff. I was a Cartoon Network. I liked what they did on Cartoon Network and that experiment, and that's where Butch Hartman came from. So that style, I always liked his style. And I still will go back and look at it sometimes. I do a thing at shows I call cartoonatures, and because I can't caricature well, but I will draw somebody in a cartoon style. I've drawn so many things, and I have such a background in animation that I'm used to drawing in a variety of styles. So if someone says I want to look like Archie characters, I'll draw you looking like Archie. But if they don't tell me, Butch Hartman style is kind of my go-to for that.
You know,
And
he really I'm gonna say, like, someone can correct me, but for a period of time, I would say that the Butch Hartman style and the Seth MacFarlane style were the definition of American animation from like
yeah,
the mid '90s to maybe 2010. And they're still powerhouses, like whatever your opinions are on them as people or what they make, like we're still making references to it to this day.
oh, absolutely.
I appreciate how a lot of young cartoonists who post like a character sheet online will draw the Family Guy death pose. It's like always referencing that. I think it's so
Yeah.
funny. um but yeah, no. So growing up, my cable was like 36 channels, and we only had one cartoon station, which was Nickelodeon. But my
Okay.
grandparents had Cartoon Network, so that was
Okay.
like an extreme treat. And I was like, so all summer, I would catch up on what I missed on Cartoon Network. Never a Disney Channel kid though. They didn't get Disney. We would get Disney like one weekend in August every year. Like they were trying to convince us to buy like a satellite package, so we would. That was very fun. I remember enjoying that, but I didn't grow up with the Disney shows that like a lot of folks my age
Yeah,
grew up with.
the Disney Channel didn't have a lot of good stuff when I was young that I remember. I mean, we had the Disney Afternoon when we came
Mm.
home from school in the '80s and early '90s, but the Disney Channel I don't remember having a lot of good shows. The one thing I do remember is that Darkwing Duck premiered on the Disney Channel and had a different intro, and nobody remembers this but me.
Really?
And I know it's not me making it up in my head because I'm very good, like I have this weird stupid knack in my head that like if I hear a cartoon theme song multiple like a few
Mm-hmm.
times, I can remember it. And it doesn't go to cartoon, just all theme songs. I'm still singing theme songs from when I was a kid. Um and it's just driving me nuts that I can't find it. Yeah, no, there's a comment there I want to get
Oh,
to.
yeah, no. I see the comment. Cloudy. I agree 100%. See, again, my mind goes to the channels I had growing up,
Yeah,
which is local Fox station and Nickelodeon.
yeah, I gotta say Jendy Tartakovsky, his stuff
Yeah.
is, I mean, just I still haven't finished Primal on Max, and I'm dying to finish that.
No, it's
You're
really
absolutely
good.
right. Yeah. Oh, I gotta
Um,
finish that. But
what was that? This is driving me nuts. Because I don't remember what it's called, but he put out a show like 2 years ago on um Adult Swim, and it was like vaguely, it was like Victorian era, and that thing was crazy. And I don't know if there was a second season yet because I don't really have access to cable in the way I did 2 years ago, but like it was crazy and it was weird and I liked it a lot. The end. I'll look that up
I
later.
don't know that one.
Yeah.
I haven't been watching like cartoon. I'll tell you, about a year, maybe within the last 2 years. I not that I don't watch TV because I watch it every day, but I kind of stopped. I said if I'm watching TV, I'm not doing art. And it's keep because I'll get wrapped up. And there are days I get wrapped up in shows and it's like I'm binging or whatever. And I try to draw and I bring my supplies into my living room and then I'm just not drawing because I'm watching TV and I feel like I accomplished nothing, you know?
Yeah. No, I
And
get it.
so like my wife and I watch a lot of shows that we watched. It's like repeats, basically. Even right now, we're on the Paramount app and we're rewatching for I think it's the second time or the third time. Man with a Plan. I don't know if you ever saw that show.
I haven't.
It
No.
is. I'm not a big sitcom guy, but I love this sitcom. It's with Matt LeBlanc from Friends. He plays a father, and Kevin Nealon, who I think is hysterical, plays his brother, and he's married and he's got kids, and it's him just trying to navigate life with a family and doing dumb, crazy things. But it's just so well written, which I don't find in a lot of sitcoms.
So actually,
Mhm.
something else I same.
Mhm.
Um, what truly set me in the direction that I went with Advent Calendar is a British, well, Northern Irish sitcom that I think is one of the best things created in the past 10 years. It's called Dairy Girls. If you haven't watched it, it's one of the funniest shows I've ever seen.
I feel
It's
like my wife
amazing.
watched it. I'll have to ask her. That
It's
sounds so
so
familiar.
good. There's something about it that that is just like, I don't know. I really enjoy it. It really hit a lot of spots for me, but also like it's really funny and there's consequences in the show, but also sometimes there aren't, and it's very much just it's about a bunch of teenagers growing up in Northern Ireland during like the end of the Troubles.
Okay.
And but most of their problems are just like stupid things that they get themselves into, but also the Troubles are happening around them and real historical events happen around them. And it's written by a woman who grew up in Derry in Northern Ireland in the 90s. And it's so good. And there's, in my work, there is a lot of like bad things that are happening around the characters, but a lot of times they themselves are just doing normal kid stuff, like getting bullied and trying to win a bunch of money. So the way that is approached in that show changed the way that I wanted to approach it in my own comics. And again, I haven't really pitched this at anyone yet, so I'm rambling a little bit, but it was really cool and I really recommend it. It is 3 seasons. It's like a total of like 30 episodes because English sitcoms are like 10 episodes a season. I wish it went on for longer, but they ended it perfectly, and that's my recommendation to everyone. You should really watch Dairy Girls.
I will ask I heard her mention that to me, but I don't know if it's something that she may want, that she's thinking of watching, or if she's watched it. But yeah, the one show, and I'll just say this because to me it's the funniest sitcom ever made. If you can watch it on Tubi, I believe it's on Hulu or whatever, or Max. The Dick Van Dyke Show. If you've never seen that, it is the greatest sitcom ever, in my opinion.
I have watched it. Sorry. It's on MeTV, and every once in a while I walk past that station on, and it's there. It is wild. They were doing really, really wild stuff on that show, and I'm like, this is the 50s, the 60s, like legitimately hilarious.
1960 to 1966 was the show.
That's amazing.
It, also though, it's Carl Reiner. If you're familiar with Carl Reiner's work,
yes,
that's the reason it's really funny, is because that guy, he's up there, and was best friends with Mel Brooks. So if you like Mel Brooks stuff, you're gonna love this type here. It's the one show that no matter how crappy I'm feeling will always make me laugh.
No, I'm glad you have that.
Yeah, it is so good. But I think I grew up on like shows like that, like reruns of that, because and Abbott and Costello. So like when I do stuff, it's a lot of wordplay. I like to write. And
that works so well for the work that you do. Like,
thank you.
I think your humor flows like flawlessly in your work. So
thank you. I appreciate that. We got to finish talking about the
sorry.
calendar. No. Listen, this is the show. We sidetracked. Did you see that? Who was it? Cloudy Days said the show you're thinking of. Okay, and Sillyville, David here. This is on Amazon. If you've not seen Trial and Error, honestly, oh my God,
I'll look it up.
Amazon. I will say I prefer the first season to the second season. I don't know if you could say the same thing, David, but it is so damn funny. It's the only actor I can really remember in there is John Lithgow at the moment, but yeah, it's
Lord Farquaad.
Oh, he's just, they're all brilliant. Everything in there. Oh my God, I'm starting to remember things.
No. Sitcoms I like. All right, let's go. Sitcoms that I like.
Go for it.
Old school sitcom. My favorite one is Facts of Life. I just enjoy it. It's set in Peekskill, which always piqued my interest, LOL, because that's local and it's about a bunch of girls. So as a little kid, I was like, oh my God, representation. I was watching it like way into reruns at Nick at Night. And also that's how I found out about Different Strokes, which is also a show I liked a lot as a child. Again, reruns on Nick at Night. Grew up watching Seinfeld every night. Like, amazing work. Can't beat that one. Frasier. My mom was a big fan of Everybody Loves Raymond when it was running, and I have grown to understand that show more as an adult. It reruns all the time on like every network. But also in the universe of Everybody Loves Raymond is King of Queens, which is another show I don't like it as much, but when it's on, I usually chuckle a little bit. And also apparently Seinfeld is in that universe, which threw me. According to Wikipedia, there's like one crossover episode, and I'm like, absolutely wild. I think those are the George Lopez show. Mm-hmm. It is it's a fact of life that if you were a child with with Nickelodeon and Nick at Night in the early 2000s, you woke up at 3 a.m. to Lowrider with George Lopez floating by you on the screen and jumping. Anyway, that was being rerun on like, they don't call it ABC, Freeform last summer. So before work, I was catching like a bunch of episodes, and I was like, I forgot what the plot of this show was. There's a lot happening here. I don't really like it, but also I'm very nostalgic for it.
You know, it's funny. I wasn't a fan of that, but you know, I've never been a big George Lopez fan. But also, like you said, with King of Queens, I didn't think it was good as Everybody Loves Raymond, but you can chuckle. But it's funny how like those were your Nick at Night shows. Nick at Night for me was like, you know, the Bob Newhart show, Dick Van Dyke, Dennis the Menace, Dobie Gillis, Mr. Ed. You know, it was a lot of
the oldest show I can remember at Nick at Night when I was very young was I Love Lucy. That's the only way I've seen episodes of I Love Lucy.
Oh wow.
It just because it was, I think there were other stations that played it, but I just remember that one was on super early at one point in time. So I'm talking like Rugrats ended, I am wide awake because it's 8 o'clock at night, and then it's like the little heart gets drawn on screen. I'm like, okay, I'll watch this. What was the one I hated, the Nick at Night show that drove me nuts, was Three's Company. I still don't like it. I know it is very nostalgic for a certain generation. I find it vapid.
Oh, you know, when I was a kid, I enjoyed it. As I got older, I will say it's a little too corny for my humor now. You know, I was, you know, like you, I love Seinfeld, I love Frasier, I love all those. I never liked Friends. I chuckled at it on occasion, but I never liked it. But you know, I feel that way about a lot of things. You know, there's always going to be something to make you laugh. But Everybody Loves Raymond. My wife and I, there were like months. That's what we would watch. 7 p.m. comes, we know it's on a channel, and you just watch it till like 11 or something. It's your background noise.
It is Italian American representation.
Yeah, well, and that's my family.
We've had this conversation last time.
Yeah.
It's no, we were both going to First Communions the same weekend last time we talked. But no, it's a good time. When I was little, I thought it was boring because I was a child, but like I've watched it as an adult, and I'm like, this is silly. This is silly. I'm having a good time.
Can I tell you? I just gotta say, the one episode I can watch nonstop, because sometimes you've seen it so many, it's repetitive, it's boring.
Yes.
But the Lucky Suit episode, if you know that episode,
I am aware. Yes.
That is my all-time favorite episode. Because I could just sit there and just like I just crack up. I don't know why, but that show kills me. Hold on, let's just see. We've missed some comments. So let's go.
Everybody's telling
you
us
don't wake up.
You got it.
The George Lopez here. What's this here? George Classic. They don't have Nick at Night anymore. I don't think.
No,
right?
I hate it.
Because we got all these older channels.
Yeah.
And then what's that? Is that loosely based on John?
That's funny.
I mean, John Ritter was a great actor.
He was.
That show, as you get older, I just feel it's a little too cheesy. You know?
It's it was on MeTV the other day, and I was just walking past the TV somewhere, and I listened to it for a little bit, and I was like, I still don't like this. It was dumb, but I know it means a lot to a lot of people. So I don't like, it's the thing. It's like Full House means a lot to a lot of people who are like a little bit older than me, and just never sat with me, But again, like it's my cousins love that show so much, so I will never be like,
Even when that show came out when I was like in middle school or something, I was like, then I knew that was a bad show.
It's definitely for like young families.
Yeah.
And my cousins would have been the perfect age to watch it when it came out. But then, I watched sitcoms that my parents watched, and I watched what just came on after like cartoons were over, but I wasn't like a big live action show kid growing up. I have friends who were like huge into like all the Disney comedies, the DComs, I guess you call them, and that kind of stuff. But I've always been more like the animation focused anyway. As an aside, I remember one time I was babysitting my mom's friend's daughter, who is in reality only a couple years younger than me, but it's one of those things when it's like a 14-year-old versus a 10-year-old, you're like, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's babysitting. They had all of the stations, and Cartoon Network was playing Spirited Away, and I was so excited. She's like, no, we have to watch That's So Raven. So I watched That's So Raven for like 4 hours, and that's the only time I've ever interacted with that show. I'm glad I did for cultural reference, but also similarly, when I was a child, I really didn't like The Cosby Show because I thought the parents were really mean. And then as I got older, I was like, okay, I still think the parents are kind of mean, but whatever. And then the everything else happened, and I was like, maybe little me was right, actually. I liked the kids. I just thought the parents were like torturing them sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. No, it did feel like that sometimes. I just watched the clip the other day on like Instagram reel, and I'm like, well, I cracked up at it. I thought it was a funny scene, but I was like, if I was a parent, would I react that way? I'm like, and then I think, I might actually be like, if my kid's acting like a moron, I'm going to treat him like one. I don't know. I don't have kids.
I don't know. Well, it's like, I guess that's what it is. You never know in the moment, but like, I don't know. So there's an episode of Full House that I've had a beef with since I first saw it, and it's the middle daughter. I think the middle daughter, maybe it's the older daughter, goes to a school dance, and someone's drinking a beer in the bathroom, and she's like, oh my God, that's so bad. And she pours it out, and in the process gets some on her, and her father is just, oh my God, I have an alcoholic, I hate my child. And I was like, your kid, do you really think that one is just like drinking beer in the bathroom? Like, think for a second. Yeah. And I know it's because we're teaching lessons. Still didn't like it. There's a similar episode of The Cosby Show, except I think the daughter does actually drink because she's at a party, and it's like, I don't know. I felt my parent. Not that I ever came home drunk, but I think my parents would have dealt with things differently at the end.
Yeah. I don't know. I never drank.
Anyway.
It is, but I mean, listen, I talking to you make me so happy. I grew up in the 70s and 80s with TV shows. I mean, our nighttime shows were the A-Team, and Knight Rider, and I didn't mind those shows. We had a lot of fun with that stuff at night. But anyway, let's get back to that calendar, because the one thing we need to discuss.
Yes.
Is you have a Kickstarter coming for me. We haven't discussed Kickstarter yet.
Yes, I have a Kickstarter. It launches on Monday, so July 14th, 10 a.m. Eastern time, which is the time zone I'm in. And I'm excited and terrified in equal measure. I think Kickstarter said this is my 15th campaign, which is insane.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I have been successful with all but one, and the one I wasn't successful with, I actually canceled on my own terms and relaunched. So I'd say that was pretty good. And I'm very excited. I don't know where we're at with the world right now, with how people feel about like their spending money. I've been hearing mixed messages from people who are running campaigns and like people who do shows right now, but I've generally not been as affected by like the trends in the comic world as some other folks that I know, because I just kind of make things that are very unique to me, I'm not chasing trends as much. I just like have a good idea and I go forward. So anyway, I don't really know. I'm very excited about the project. I believe I have set a reasonable goal for it, and I really can't wait to have the book in hand. Like I have my little binder on the floor here with like the first, I think it's at page like 76 or something pages, and I finished page 86 or 87 last night. 86. We're drawing 87 right now, and it's gonna tap out between 100 and 110 pages. I plot it for 100 pages. I know how I am, and it's probably just gonna have to need some cushion in there.
Yeah.
In I had ideas to add even more bonus content to it, but unless the project is like wildly successful beyond the goal, I'm gonna keep it like nice and tight for now with just the main story and then bonus material, because I personally love the bonus material that's included in books. I love seeing character sketches. I love like outfit references. Like that's truly one of my favorite parts of owning the physical volume of any collected edition. So yeah, I'm really excited. Basically we've got like, there's 3 tiers you can back at. The lowest tier, which I think is $10, is the digital tier. The next tier is for the book. The book is, 120 pages, full color, a nice soft matte covers, and so it'll be like 110 pages of comics and 10 of bonus content, etc. And that all of my books always come with a sparkly bookmark. I made one special just for this comic, and a little thank you card, and also the digital edition. And then there is a higher level, which is the print edition, the bookmark, the digital edition, but there will also be a sticker set and a print that will be exclusive just to the project. I haven't done the stickers or the print yet. They are work in progress. I also have not designed the cover yet because I don't feel comfortable designing covers until the book is done. I've never successfully done a cover until the book is done.
You know what? I've had drawings I've done that I'm like, this will be a great cover, but but you're right, because you don't know if you're going to pull something from an idea from a later piece, or I've done it where I've loved a panel and I've just blown up a panel and done that, and it came later. So
I did a promotional image that I love for this comic. It's the head image for the whole Kickstarter, and I was like, can I make this work as a cover? And then I'm like, it's formatted so wrong, I'd have to redraw half of it, and I'm like, maybe that's a backup, but it's just super nice the way it is, and I just, maybe that will be if I don't use that image as the cover or some variation on it, that will be like the image on the thank you postcard or something, because I just think it's cute.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Let's see. I recommend putting a bit of money down on the Kickstarter for Advent Pilot coming. Yep, good stuff. And what's this one say? I missed it. Oh yeah, we do a lot of nostalgia. Oh, I'm Mr. Nostalgia. That's my life. Your Kickstarter is going to be amazing.
Thank you.
Excited for the Kickstarter.
Thanks, guys.
If you're not backing the physical book tiers on Monday, you're gonna regret it.
I did a cover for Elliot for his upcoming project, which I'm super proud of. It's featured on my website. Like, it's so good. And I'm not gonna pre-pitch Elliot's book because it's not ready to go out in the world quite yet, but it is fantastic, and I will send you the link for the pre-launch page because it's really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I want to take a look. I don't know what else to ask. I mean, unless you want to go talking about old cartoons and stuff again.
Well, I can tell actually, because there's some folks here that are my friends and folks who follow my work here. This is going into nostalgia a little bit. It's no words. It's 10:30 at night, everyone. I apologize. I've had a full day. It's no shock to anyone. It's no secret. No secret to anyone that I really love manga. My love for storytelling really developed with reading manga and seeing what you could do, how you could take this thing that I loved, comic strips, animation, and then do something like bigger with it. Like that I was coming of age when like you couldn't find superhero comics in the store anymore. You had to go like a certain section of Barnes and Noble, and I didn't think that the collected editions looked very fun. So it was a whole new world to me. My favorite manga of all time is Bleach, which is often met with odd remarks from people because like of the big three, it's like not the best one. I love Bleach so much, you can't take it from my cold dead hands. And I really love the aesthetics of the comic. Anyway, I've been rereading it this summer, and I've been watching the anime seriously for the first time because, again, I didn't have Cartoon Network growing up. I would catch like the the subbed episodes in 3 parts on YouTube, and I would get sick of it because honestly, the animation is jank half of the time in this show. But it's been really fun to watch it. I'm having a great time. I am most of the way through the Soul Society arc right now, so that's really like a drop in the hat in the larger story. But because I was interacting with Bleach content, and everything that you use online knows exactly what you're doing. Every time you touch a phone, it knows what you were thinking. I started getting recommendations on YouTube for like videos about like what mangaka go through, like the hell it is to create a successful comic, which we all know. Like if you are in the world of comics, you know that they're suffering. And actually I have another point on that. I might be able to grab. All right, sorry, jumping ahead. I was watching this really well done video, and this guy was talking about the different health problems a different mangaka have suffered, and everybody knows about the grueling schedule. Everybody's seen that one image of that one guy's schedule where like he sleeps 3 hours a week. We all know what happened to Toriyama. Like we understand this. It was the first time I had ever seen anything about Tite Kubo, the creator of Bleach, talking about like adverse health effects. And basically he talked about how when he finished the comic, he felt weird for a year, and he realized he was just like super lonely because he wasn't making stories about his characters anymore because it's like done. And I was like, man after my own heart, my God, I would feel the same way. But then the other thing that he said was after a year of not making comics, he realized that like his shoulder was weird, his left shoulder, which is weird because he's right-handed, so you would think it'd be your right hand. And he went to the doctor, and they were like, you have severed all the tendons in your left shoulder. How'd you do that? It's from leaning on the desk because he supports himself with his arm. So I hurt my left shoulder really badly in like March. This is incredibly Italian American. I went to pick up a really big jug of olive oil for my mom at the store, and I used my left hand. I just felt something in my arm, and I was like, oh no, I've done something awful. And I had to take a break from comics for like a month because I couldn't lean on my desk to draw. And I was like, oh my God, same injury.
Well,
I didn't sever anything, thankfully, but I was like, whoa, I've never heard of someone else doing that. Because I would describe this injury to like my artist friends, and they would be like, are you left-handed? And I'd be like, no. And they were like, you got to fix your posture, bud. And I'm like, I am. I got the ergonomic arm now. We're all good. But I was like, oh my God, me and Sensei, same problems.
It's funny you mentioned that because I have been having issues with my left. Sorry, I have a monitor I'm using as light. It fell asleep. I hurt my left shoulder has been bothering me for a while, but I actually hurt my right shoulder a few months ago. I went through physical therapy, and that's my drawing. What happened was, my wife and I ordered a one of those walking pads, like the treadmill type of stuff, and it was left outside our apartment. We're on a second story, and I said I'll just bring it inside because I don't trust people, and I said, let me bring it inside. And when I brought it inside our doorway, it blocked the door. It blocked the mailboxes for all my neighbors. I'm like, I can't have this because I was like, I'll wait for my wife to bring it upstairs. Well, because now it's inside the apartment building, I have to bring it up a flight of stairs on my own. And I get to this landing, and I hear something like pop and tear. I call it my Rice Krispie moment because it just was like all these sounds. And I literally like screamed.
Uh,
No one was home. I worked from home, so all my neighbors were out at work at the time, um, and I had to take a break. And then I brought it up the next flight of stairs. And while I was going to physical therapy for it, um, and I still feel like my collarbone's a little high. They said that has nothing to do with it, so I may have always had a high collarbone on my right side and never.
yeah,
But my left shoulder started hurting, and although my right shoulder feels much better now, my left shoulder's constantly hurting me.
that's what happens. So you have to do the whatever exercises they showed you at physical therapy. You have to do on your left side now. Like
I'm doing both. Yeah, I do both almost daily. Uh,
I I hope you feel better soon. I have been in physical therapy for a hip problem and it's gone now, but it took 2 rounds over a year and a half. So sometimes the body is slow.
wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't use easels, but I use tabletop drawing boards, and
Mm.
I love. Oops, I didn't mean to activate that one again. Um, but yeah, it's rough. You got to be careful. And I do want to say, going manga and anime, you bring talking about Bleach.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff I grew up on had a certain look to it. The styles changed in the late 80s
Mm.
and early 90s of manga and anime, and I didn't really watch any of those things. Um, I did watch the original Dragon Ball. I remember that, and I only remember that because I recently rewatched it on Crunchyroll, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh crap! Wait, I remember this," and I was having memories of things. So I'm like, I remember that show,
Mm.
but I never saw Z, and I watched that one, and I'm done with Dragon Ball. I never want to see anything again on that. It's I've had enough. Dragon Ball Z. I know. Listen, I wasn't the era of it. I know there's a lot of fans out there, but if I need to compare it to like superhero comics, it's basically a bunch of Green Lanterns waiting around for Superman to show up.
Stop.
Uh,
That's funny.
okay, that's how I feel about Dragon Ball Z. I didn't
Oh my
hate the show, but I'm
god.
just like I wasn't the era for it to be obsessed, or maybe I'm watching it in my late 40s. I'm almost 50, and it's like, you know. But I love Toriyama's work. I've always been impressed by his vehicle design specifically, um, and like, but you recommended Bleach, and I went out
I love
a
Bleach.
good like year. It was probably a good year after the first time we spoke, and I bought the collection of manga while I was away on vacation, the first 3 books, and I read it, and I enjoyed it. I think it's a really good story. I bought the next 3 books. I haven't read them yet. They're sitting on my shelf,
Mm.
and I'm sorry, I just read a comment. Um, but I can't do the show. I told my wife if she wants to give it a try, I'll watch it with her because she's like, I remember hearing that when she was younger and it was popular. She's like, I'll give it a try. But I'm like, I don't know. If I'm going to continue with it, it will be through manga.
It's okay. So here's the thing with the show.
Yeah.
The American voice acting cast is the best I've ever heard in an anime.
Okay.
It's fantastic. As it's gone on, you can tell they're more comfortable in their roles, and I also think they were saving the budget for like bigger fights as it went on, so it looks
Okay.
better. It's really good. Even if you're like drawing and you have it on a different screen, just listening to it, you're gonna have a good time. Um, the art in the manga is so good, and I remember seeing the anime for the first time and being so upset because his style is just it's so good, and it just to make it anime, it just kind of took all the life out of it in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm having a great time. It's been a really fun like summer adventure to go on.
No, that's cool. I mean, listen, you got something that you love so much
Mm-hmm.
that you're seeing it and checking it out from all angles, if you will.
Yeah.
And you'll get the experience. Like I I I was actually when I was at the show, I ran into a bunch of old students of mine, and they thought I hated anime and manga because I used to outlaw it in my classroom. Mostly because I was my job. I felt was, in college, I'm trying to make you versatile for the work field and all. If you're only going to draw in an anime style, you're not going to get hired at a studio. You have to understand how to draw other ways. So I'd be like, no, but because of what I grew up on, I love
Mm-hmm.
it. I just
Yeah.
wasn't watching what they were watching at the time. And I have come to the point where even though I love superheroes I'm not really reading superhero comics except older stuff that I collect. I go back to the older books that I loved,
Mhm.
and what I do now is I actually read a lot more manga. I'm going back and I'm reading a lot of, like, I'm trying to find manga to the old, like, animes I used to watch. Like, I was a
Oh,
big
smart.
Captain Harlock fan. I loved Fists of the North Star. The one book I'll never find though because it's out of print and too expensive on eBay is the Crying Freeman stories. Like,
Oh yeah, I just heard a podcast or something about
mhm.
those. I was, but yeah, no, it's hard to get a hold of. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, no,
Are there
no.
good
Listen, it's okay.
scans at least?
Not that I've found yet, but I mean
Okay.
the artwork. Like, there was back in the '70s, Marvel had. I believe it was the late '70s. Marvel had a Japanese Spider-Man, not the Spider-Man
Yes.
that's based on the TV series. They
Mm-hmm.
were retelling the Peter Parker story, and the guy who drew that, and I'm so bad with names, was the one who did Crying Freeman. So
Oh, okay.
even the Spider-Man books were just beautiful. They weren't. They were a little more toned down, um, and they they were. I mean, it was gorgeous. And one of the reasons I bought, I have a friend who passed away a few years ago, but his job in the '80s and '90s until like Viz became a popular company,
Mm-hmm.
and we had like Tokyo Pop and stuff that were making things in America. He was actually running the company that was translating the manga into American,
Ooh,
um, and
what company was it?
I don't remember the name of it. I probably have it written down somewhere. But if you look in that Spider-Man book, or actually if you read the first 12 books of Berserk, he did the translations to the first 12
Wow,
books, and so he did all the lettering. He did some production art, so he's in there as production artist. It says Dan
that's
McCrosis,
awesome.
and so he did that for the Spider-Man books and all that stuff. And I love, and I love Spider-Man. I love all that stuff. So like I'm collecting those type of things. I've bought some, even though I don't read,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Dragon Ball or anything. I've bought a few books just to, for studying art styles. And
Yeah, I
I
get
see
that.
something cool, I'll study an art style. But I like to look for what I used to read, and yeah, I got collections, Lone Wolf and Cub. Whatever. I can't even see everything from here. I don't even have my glasses on to see far. I mean, for distance, talking to you would be difficult. Hold on. Let's see some comments here. Johnny played. I don't even know how to say that name. There's it.
Ichigo.
Ichigo was also Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know who he is. Yeah. Actually, I think I just found that out the other day because he's going to be at a convention, maybe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I saw an ad and never both. What is this? Thanks. um, but yeah, it's anyway. I don't know. Um, I'll when it comes to that stuff, I'll read and watch anything. But I love all the older stuff.
No, I got yeah. Absolutely. No,
So
it's there's a lot you can learn by going back through the
yeah,
older art. I have a little bit of a gripe with the look of some modern manga, and it's not the style, it's that it's clearly done. It's a little too smooth looking because everything's done digitally. I want them to use like a shittier brush. I'm sorry. I it's not so common with like the popular shonen stuff, but if you like read scans of like shojo manga that's coming out now, which I've outgrown that age group, like I understand that. It's like a little too perfect looking and I don't like it. I have a similar gripe with the like kind of the generic aesthetic of a lot of Korean webtoons where it's like it's a little too perfect and I don't like that. I
yeah,
don't mind that you're using models. I think it's great that you're finding ways to like cut down time and have a life and get paid. But like everybody kind of looks too perfect, too shiny, and I don't
yeah.
like that. But that's a me thing. People love it. What was I had something to say in regards to style though. I forgot what it was. It's getting late. I'm going
It's
crazy.
getting, yeah. We're at what, quarter to 11 now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, but I'm having a great time talking. So
Yeah,
like,
same here. I enjoy it. This is the one thing, and it's one of these things where every week before I come on, you have a long day at work, you're just
hmm
tired, and it's like, I don't want to do this, and I really don't want to go on tonight. Why did I book a guest? Why did I do? And then you come on, and I know this is going to be a fun time because I get to talk art, I get to talk about comics, everything that I love, and I
hmm
get to talk with really cool people. So
yeah, you're like it really it hypes you like right up. Like it's so
yeah,
good. Oh my gosh. What? Hold on, I'm gonna turn around because there might be something on my bookshelf that I
yeah,
keep meaning to reference. Hold on one second.
absolutely.
Oh, almost knocked something over. We saved it. um. Oh, this was something else going back to Dragon Ball. So there's I can see the book across the room. I'm not gonna grab it because I will have to take off my headphones and it'll be a whole
Oh,
thing. Actually, you know what? I will. Give me 1 sec. I'll
okay,
be right
go
back.
for it. Whatever. Let's see.
I'm back. Okay, so thank you, Cloudy. So I purchased this book. I pre-ordered this book because I got an email from Viz, and I was like, "Oh my god, I love reading this kind of stuff." It is this book. Um,
Yep.
It was originally published in Japan, clearly. But it is this guy here is the editor who worked with Toriyama and a couple of other like heavy hitters of like 1980s Jump. The work I'm most familiar with is, of course, Dragon Ball, but also Video Girl Ai, which I randomly decided to track down and read last year, which I really enjoyed. This man is awful. I would say he's actually a bad person. He's the guy who started the whole thing where like mangaka don't have lives and they're chained to desks, and also like we treat them like they're shit because we get better work out of them if we treat them badly. And it's so interesting because this was written, I'm pretty sure, before Toriyama passed away, but it was published in Japan after. So they softened a lot of it. But you're like, this man probably would not have passed away so young had it not been for this guy. And it's in one part fascinating to read all of these things about the manga industry and how to create comics in that world. On the other hand, I'm like, I want to fight this guy. He sucks.
It's funny because I got a copy of that book. Someone recommended. They're like, "Yo, this book's coming out. You might really be into it." So I ordered a copy. I haven't had a chance to sit down and read it, but it is on my bedside. Nightstand. Well, on the floor that where I keep my books. But but I've been drawing lately, like sitting in bed with my sketch pad, so I haven't even picked up a book to read. Usually, excuse me, I tend to like bring a book to bed,
I
and I
got you,
have a
yeah.
few, and whether it's a manga, a comic, a biography, whatever. Oh, I don't know why I have a little whatever. But yeah, no, and that's one of the books sitting on my bedside right now, and I'm like, I want to just sit down and really read it, and
It's good. Like I'm not gonna say that it's not interesting. It's just with the awareness that this man started this trend where mangaka are like dying of illnesses is kind of horrifying. I believe that video I mentioned before, that talked about like a lot of different like Shonen Jump authors who had problems was inspired by this book coming out.
yeah.
And like I said, it is super interesting. I'm just aware of it as I'm reading it, so I'm just like, I don't like this guy. Um, he also references Bakuman a lot. Have you ever read that?
No, but I know of it.
Yeah, it's not it's a good comic. I enjoyed it when it was coming out, and then I went to college and I couldn't really afford to keep up with manga anymore, so I
Yeah.
kind of fell off. But it's a fairly short series as far as manga goes. I think it's 20-ish volumes, so you can read the whole thing. Maybe it's 30-ish, I don't remember. But I've been buying it I was buying it secondhand, and I stopped because actually I hate the main character is what I've come down to.
Okay.
He annoys me. But the interesting parts are the parts about creating comics and creating manga, and it's just he references it in here a lot, and he's like, some of it is outdated now because this comic came out in 2008. But it's of interest. I don't know. I think this is worth reading. Like, I think for anybody who is interested in manga in general or who makes comics, I think this is definitely worth tracking down. Yeah. But you'll be.
Oh, we got a frozen moment.
It's not my experience.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat? You're frozen.
About.
Oh. You froze for a moment.
Sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay.
My internet is kind of funky. Basically, I recommend it to anyone who. I recommend this book to anyone who makes manga or makes things that are inspired by manga, or just thinks that the culture around it is interesting, because it is like reading a textbook. Like, look, so much text. Like, it's really interesting. But also you will be mad at the guy, because if you put yourself in the shoes of the creator, you're like, this guy is a terror. Dang. Yeah. I like reading about artists and art processes. I just tracked down this book about a week ago. This is a series of essays by Kandinsky, who is a well-known modern artist from the early 20th century. I became aware of his writings on spiritualism during the pandemic because in my day job at the museum that I work at, we got to do pretty much whatever we wanted during the pandemic, as long as it was museum programming. So we did a lot about spiritualism, which was popular in New York State in the mid-Victorian era through the 20s. And Mr. Kandinsky was super into it. Also, the writer of The Wizard of Oz was like super into it too, which is super cool. Anyway, I became aware of these essays and I thought it was super interesting. They were written in his native language, which I believe is German. I might be misremembering. But I found this book the other day, and it's the first time that all of the essays have been translated into English and put into a book. And it's tiny. Like, this is an easy read. But I'm having a great time. It's fascinating to read the writing of someone over 100 years ago and really get it. You know, like, you feel what he's saying. And I understand that a person in, like, 2024 translated it into English, but I think they probably didn't do the thing where you add, like, today's slang to it or something, you know. Like, it's good. I recommend this to anybody who has an interest in the modern art movements and just kind of like esoteric spiritualism. I can't say the right word. I'm tired.
It's okay.
But yeah, those are my current art reads. I'm also reading something called Dinosaur Bird Asteroid something. I don't know. It's about the art of Asian storytelling. It's cool.
Okay.
It's across the room. The person who wrote this has a real chip on their shoulder in regards to like American fantasy writers, but I'm enjoying seeing how this creator breaks down Eastern and Western movie plots and then like reverses them into the other one, and you see why they don't work certain ways. It's cool.
Oh, it sounds interesting. I wish I can give you guys recommendations of what I'm reading right now. I don't have any books. I'll be honest. I've been finding, like, when I draw in bed, it's almost meditative for me. It's not like I'm going, like, I just have my draw. I'm not trying to design a character. I'm not trying to work on my comic. It's just sketch and see where I kind of go. It's almost, so that's what I've been doing lately to kind of clear my head, as opposed
legit.
I will say, though, one of my favorite biographies I've ever read was what is it? Is it called The Nobel Story? Or the Nobel Story, however you pronounce it. I got to look it up. But it's about the artist Maurice Noble. And for those Looney Tune fans, Maurice Noble was a layout artist in Chuck Jones's unit. So he was the one who said, if every if we have all these characters, why are we making these beautiful backgrounds? Let's make the characters pop out. And he was the one who started stylizing the backgrounds. So when
Oh,
you see
cool.
like Duck Dodgers in the 24th and one half century, what's Opera Doc, that's all his
Oh,
backgrounds. He's the background artist on it.
interesting.
And he had a very interesting life, and what he did, and he came back um, for when he came out of retirement was for an episode of Tiny Toons when they did like their Star Wars parody, and he created the backgrounds for the Star Wars Tiny Toons episode. Um, so yeah, no, he was, and he's like all the Roadrunner cartoons.
Mhm.
He's all the background. So and if you notice, he
Interesting.
does such great. Um, every episode of or every short of the Roadrunner cartoons gets less and less detailed, and he's the genius behind. But you still understand what's
Yeah, yeah.
going on, and it's fantastic. So I read that years ago, but I still keep the book and go back to it every now and then because it's just one of my favorites
I
to
get
read.
that.
But his name, I just look up Maurice Noble biography,
I will.
and it's fantastic. That's one of my favorites. Um, yeah, I don't know who else because I read more biographies. I spend so much time in comics that when I read, I have
I
to
got
learn
you.
something, and I can't read fiction no matter how much I want to read like a Conan book or whatever. But you know what's interesting, and you brought up the Victorian era of the 20s,
Hmm.
um, and the spiritualness for all you like comic fans out there, whether it's manga, American,
Hmm.
whatever, it doesn't matter. Back in that era, that was the era of like pulp stories.
Hmm.
And if you look at the heroes that came out of the pulp era that became superheroes later on in the early 30s and,
Hmm.
and early 40s, they're all based on mysticism and spiritualism. And then
Yes.
it's not until we get into the 60s where, it's the space race that we get all the science characters and Spider-Man and all these other things. So,
That is a really good point.
you know
Just
so
what's
it's
going on in the larger cultural context of the world.
yeah, yeah, no, so you check that stuff out, and a lot of those characters from the pulp era are in public domain,
Mm.
so you could use them for your own stories. Just look up public domain wiki and you'll find everything in there. I'm on that a lot there. I love drawing public domain characters because they already got a cool history behind them. So all you
Oh
people who
yeah.
love like the Cthulhu and all that stuff, that's all public domain. So yeah, just little
No, I love
lesson
that for the greater artistic community.
there. Yeah.
Um, when Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse became a public domain, that was a big deal. The museum I work at has a history with steamboats, and I got to make a lot of jokes using those images and saying
That's
they were
awesome.
historic images from the museum.
Yeah.
Someone from another museum called me and said, I have a great idea for a Facebook post. My boss says I can't do it, but you guys could do it, and I want to give you this idea. And I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. And everybody loved it. So I got to
That's
thank
great.
him.
That is fantastic. Wow. Anyway, we've hit the 2 hour mark in a little less than 2 minutes.
It's
so,
amazing. It's been so fun to
yeah,
talk. I love doing
yeah,
this.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's, you know, I wish we talked more about Advent calendar,
Eh.
but listen, I think we got enough out there. I think, your Kickstarter's coming out. You have a page they can go to right now to be notified.
Yes. There is. I have a Kickstarter like preview link. If you go to any of my social medias, it's linked there. At worst, I have a link tree link for I think it's on all my social medias where you click on that and there's like a big button at the top
Okay.
that's like Advent calendar. And if you click that, you can click a button to be notified, and you'll get an email when the project launches. But also, if you just hold on to that link, that will turn into the actual Kickstarter link when the project goes live. And it's going live on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And I am very excited about it. It's Christmas in July because again, it's a holiday story. That is the whole reason why I'm doing it in July, because I think that's fun. Um, and Despite my like concerns about just like the greater world of funding and comics, I'm so excited. I love this story so much. It means a lot to me, and I I have been so surprised by how much it means to other people, and it's been a really joyful experience to make this comic. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, thank you guys. Well, thank everybody in the audience first. You guys, great interaction. Love all your questions and comments. Thank you for supporting us here. Um, thank you, Emily, for coming on. Thank you for sharing everything that you shared. It
Love
was
to be here.
a lot of fun talking. Got to have you back as soon as you know you can.
I
Don't
got
have to have
another.
a project.
Well, I'm gonna have another book out in January on Kickstarter. So at the very least, we've got that one coming up.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely be back in January. And for the rest of you, um, first of all, again, thank you for watching. But if you want to watch next week, because I know not all of you are regular watchers, which you could be if you want to subscribe to my YouTube page or follow on Twitch or whatever. It's next week we're going to be talking about the Superman movie. So I got my tickets for Saturday 2:30 showing. A friend of mine seeing it tomorrow who's going to be on, and there might be one or two other guests, and we're going to talk Superman, and it's going to be interesting because not only am I one of the biggest Superman fans out there, I am one of the most anti James Gunn fans out there. I don't, I don't. So this should be an interesting conversation next week. So anyway, guys, if I can, I will do a live stream this weekend and do some drawing. If I can't, I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Been a lot of fun. Thanks again, Emily.
Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Bye.